candidate from House District 9. Sorry about that. So now I want to take the opportunity to introduce some of the candidates that we are going to be supporting, all of us, and let you hear from them, their story and what they hope to do in the legislature. So first I would like to introduce Dr. Yadira Caraballo. She's a candidate for House District 31 in Adams County. She's a pediatrician in Thornton, and during her residency, Dr. Caraballo worked to improve the working conditions of her fellow medical residents and was elected union representative for the interns and residents. And also, while she was in her residency, she worked with the Union of Concerned Scientists in Washington, D.C. around the issue of the health effects of climate change. She's seen firsthand the impacts that our policies have on her community and her patients. Dr. Caraballo is hoping to put her knowledge and her passion to work at the legislature for the people of Colorado, fighting for a more just economy, health care for all, a well-funded and equitable education system, immigrant rights, racial justice, women's rights, the list goes on. So come on up, Yadira.
Good evening, everybody. Everybody ready for Bernie? Well, thank you, Emily, for putting this together, for all the work that you've done for progressive candidates in Colorado, and thank you all for coming out tonight. As Emily said, my name is Yadira Caraballo, and I'm a pediatrician in Thornton running for House District 31. Colorado is my home. And Colorado has been through a lot of changes that I've seen. I've grown up with this state. My parents moved here in the 70s from Mexico with the idea of providing a better future for their children. They lived in a very small town in Chihuahua, and they would have loved to have gone on to higher education. My dad would have loved to have been an engineer. My mother would have loved to have been a doctor, but with the situation that there was in Mexico, that just wasn't possible. So they came here knowing that they would be able to create a better future for their children. In my family, it wasn't, are you going to go to college? It was, where are you going to go and what are you going to study? So when I was 3, apparently, I decided that I wanted to be a doctor, and I never really varied from that path. I went to some amazing public schools growing up, and public education, because of that, is very important. My parents were working class. My dad was in construction my entire life. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, raising 4 kids. They put us all through college. And I knew that I had, my family's hopes and dreams on my shoulders. And not only that, I knew that once I became a pediatrician, I was going to have the lives and the health of a lot of children on my back as well. I went to CU Medical School. I'd always been interested in politics. I've been volunteering for political campaigns since I was in high school, and so I knew that that was going to be part of my vocation as well, but medicine was going to be primary to my life. I went to medical school and always made sure that advocacy was a part of what I was doing, because while you can do a lot of things for your patients one-on-one in clinic, there is a whole host of things in their lives that you can't do anything about as a doctor. So when I went to the University of New Mexico, I got involved with the American Academy of Pediatrics. I became a union delegate. I got to go to the Obama White House a couple of times to talk about climate change and how it impacts children, because we all think of a lot of things about the economics and the earth, but it's really a health issue. I got, actually, because of that work, I was honored with a prize from the White House as a champion of change. And then when I finished I came back and gave myself a couple of years to become a good pediatrician, because I knew medicine, but I didn't know the day-to-day of medicine. And the day-to-day of medicine quickly became very frustrating, because in clinic every day, I actually practice in my district. I saw a whole myriad of issues that children and their families go to that I can't do anything about as a doctor. So whether it's the price of housing, how many jobs my kids' parents have to work to put food on the table, to pay for their housing, the cost of childcare, whether the kids that I see even have insurance or have access to a doctor, because most of the kids that I see are on Medicaid. 65% of them are on Medicaid, and without that program, they wouldn't even get to see a doctor like me. And so I became more involved in the community. I have been doing a lot of things around early childhood intervention services, around mental health issues, because I basically I practice as a psychiatrist even though I wasn't trained for that, because there are so much issues with depression and anxiety in children because of all the pressures that we face. But that wasn't enough. I knew that being in clinic wasn't enough. Being one-on-one with the kids that I see in clinic every day wasn't enough to change their lives. But even advocating, people don't have to listen to you if you're not in a position of power. And so I decided that there's not enough of us, like in the state house and levels of power, to change the lives of kids, and that's why I decided to run for this seat. Which the other side. And it also combines advocating for people, and that's what we need to do in areas of power. Is we need to use the knowledge that we have, use facts, use things like medicine, and make the lives of people better. So thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for supporting all of these progressive candidates, and help us take our knowledge and make the lives of our community better. Thank you so much.
Great, right? All right, so next up we've got Rochelle Galindo. She's a candidate for HD 50. That's Greeley Evans in Garden City. She's not running in an easy district. I was canvassing up there on Saturday, and boy did I have some tough conversations. But that's what Rochelle does day in and day out. She broke her first glass ceiling as the first openly gay elected official to the city of Greeley. And I know she will fight with us for economic justice, for an education system that is well-funded and equitable, and jobs that pay a living wage. So let's give it up for Rochelle.
How are you feeling tonight? Good. Well, some of you may know me as the first openly gay elected official to the Greeley City Council. But I want to talk a little bit tonight about how I grew up and what drives me to fight for change every single day. I remember one night I was 4 years old. I was asleep in my bed. It was in the middle of the night, and I was woken up by screaming and furniture moving in the other room. So I got out of bed to see what was going on, and as I entered the room, I saw my mom lying on the ground, my dad standing over her, and the cordless phone was lying right between us. And my mom saw me come in, and she screamed, "Rochelle, call 911. So I grabbed the cordless phone, I ran into the bathroom, locked the door before my dad could catch me, and I called 911. Now the rest of that night is a little blurry, but that was a typical weekend at my house. I grew up in a domestic violence household, and being in that situation at that age, I felt helpless. I wasn't really sure what I could do to better my situation. But as I got older, I got tired of feeling helpless, and I decided to stand up to my dad. So one night I did, and when I stood up, my mom saw me stand up, and she realized she needed to stand up too. And she found the strength within herself to leave. And it was at that point in my life that I realized what kind of difference I could make just by speaking up. And since then, I have dedicated my life to standing up for those who are unable to stand up for themselves. And that is why I'm running for Colorado House District 50. Because I am one of you. I want to ensure that Greeley, Evans, and Garden City has a type of leadership that reflects the people. Now, I wish the people at the top could spend a day. I wake up at 4:30 every morning to commute 1 hour for my job as a head custodian at an elementary school. Now, I grew up in Greeley, and I saw my parents struggle to provide a better life for me. And the people at the top want you to believe that if you're struggling, it's your fault. But I think there's more going on there. The richest 1% of people in the country now own 40% of all of wealth in America. They hold all the cards and can stack the deck any way they like. Is it any surprise that working families are seeing their wages flatline? I'm running for the House to be the voice for working people. Fighting for good paying jobs, better funding for our schools, and a fair shot for our families. But how do we get there? We get there by knocking doors, making calls, and engaging people in our democracy. Now, you guys already took the first step by being here tonight. So take that next step. Get involved and help make history here in our state. If I'm elected this year, I will not only be the first person of color ever elected to a statewide office in Weld County, be the first openly gay. So let's make that happen. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to the organizers, to the amazing volunteers who are using their time to help make this happen. And let's do this.
Next up, we have Kyle Mullica. He is a candidate for HG 34 in Adams County. One thing I've learned about Kyle, he's a fighter. You're gonna like the fire he's got in his belly. He served on the North Glen City Council, where he didn't back down from taking tough stands and making sure the needs of working people were served. I know once in the legislature, he will fight for our working families, our children's education and fair wages. He has been and will continue to be a champion for economic justice. Let's give it up for Kyle Mullica.
Thank you. Get this up a little bit. I got my cowboy boots on tonight, so we're gonna kick some butt tonight. My name is Kyle Mullica, and I'm running to be the next state representative for Colorado House District 34. I want to share a little bit about me because it tells you why I'm running and how I got to where I am today. I was raised in this district. It's all I've ever known. And I was raised by a single mom. I've never met my dad. And growing up, and when I was 8 years old, we didn't. We ended up living out of our car. And that puts a fight in you. It puts a fight in you when you don't know where your next meal is going to come from. It puts a fight in you when you can still see the tears in your mother's eyes as she's trying to tuck you in the passenger seat of the car. That's unacceptable. We have to be better. And I'm talking to my neighbors and I'm knocking on their doors and they're going through the same struggle that I went through. Their kids can't move out and their grandparents are at least 3 hours a week. They're all that they knew how, just like my mom did. They're still not making it. We need to go down to the Capitol. We need to pass policy that makes their life a little easier. I'm done making the life easier on the millionaires. I'm done making the life easier on the It's time that we get something done. I'm a nurse. I've been lucky enough to break that cycle of poverty through the support of my community. But you don't forget where you come from. You reach back and you help those people that are facing the same struggles that you faced. I'll be the only nurse serving at the Capitol. And let me tell you this right now, so everyone can hear it loud and clear. I believe that healthcare is a right and not a privilege. I see every single day how our system's broken. I work in the ER and I want to share a story with you. We had a gentleman, he was coming in and he was coming in on death's bed every single week. And he was coming in to get dialyzed. He'd come into the ER to be admitted to the hospital to get dialysis. And this man, he had 2 teenage kids and he had a wife. And you could tell, you could see in his eyes how much he loved his family. And he was coming in every week sicker than a dog. And in such an inefficient way to have to go through the ER and then get admitted to the hospital. And this went on for 2 months. And I get called to a stat triage in the parking lot. And this man is dead in the passenger seat of his car. So don't tell me that people aren't dying because they don't have health care. Don't tell me that people aren't losing their house because they get sick.
Right.
Don't tell me these things because I'm seeing it with my own eyes. And I'm going down to the Capitol and I'm going to make sure that my community has a voice. I'm going to make sure that the hardworking people of this state have a voice. We're going to make sure that the hardworking people of Colorado have a voice at the Capitol and that we get things done. I want to thank you all for coming out here today. And it's about time that we get back to the people, for the people, by the people. Thank you.
All right, next up, I would like to introduce Brianna Titone. She's a candidate for HD 27. She has taken on the incredibly difficult task of running for office in a fairly red district. She's got multiple degrees. She's worked as a geologist, a substitute teacher, a web developer, and a volunteer firefighter. Brianna got interested in local politics in 2016 as she became a Bernie delegate at County Assembly. And now, with your help, Brianna Titone could become the first trans woman elected to our legislature.
Waving here because I want you to know we're ready for a blue wave. Is that right? Are you ready for the blue wave? My name is Brianna Titone. I am the first trans person to run for state office in the state of Colorado. And I want to thank Emily Sirota and Bernie Sanders, who we'll be seeing later, to being out here to get everyone rallied up. We have 13 more days left. 13 days before the election, and this is a critical turning point. This is where we're going to take our government and society in a new direction. We need you to get all of your friends and your neighbors and your loved ones and everyone to get those ballots in and get them in early. We don't want to wait. We need them in now. So I need you all, that's your task for today, is to start working on getting the people, get those ballots in. You know, we have a historic opportunity to build power in 13 more days. And it's imperative that we all join in the fight because our ideas and initiatives are worth getting in the ring for. We fight for inclusion and intersectionality at every level of policymaking. We fight for common sense and environmental policies. We protect our planet from imminent disaster and long-term harm. For strong labor unions to push wages up and healthcare policy that drives costs down. For net neutrality, sustainability, and for so much more that will impose our lives and protect our world. Senator Sanders has led for years on many of these issues. On the upcoming midterm election, it presents us a chance to fill leadership roles up and down the ballot at every level of government with fighters that will strengthen and advocate for these policies. As he said many times, the political revolution is about more than Bernie. It's about all who follow and are inspired by him to make a difference. And you know, right now, in light of the latest attacks on the transgender community, we must elect progressive candidates.
Yes. 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 Yes.
People's lives and futures depend on it.
Right. Yes.
We need to protect our vulnerable populations and not erase them.
Yeah.
We need everyone, all of you, to keep help fighting for these campaigns. All of the campaigns still going. We need your help. We need you to volunteer. We need you to go out and knock those last few doors.
Knock on doors.
I had Danica Rome over here on Monday, and she told a story about how she won an election by 2 or 3 votes. And it was that one last house that she got to talk to, that she inspired those people to vote for her. And that's what you can do. You have the power to do that. 13 more days. That's all we've got left. 13 more days. And we don't want to wake up on November 7th of this year in the way we did on November 8th 2 years ago. If we've learned anything from the last 2 years, it's that we have to fight hard to retain and elect good people.
Yes.
And we know what happens when we don't fight. It's what we get, what we have now. So we need to find some time to help knock those doors, make those calls, and don't stop now. With all of your help, that blue wave is going to come crashing down. And when the water washes away, we're going to have a brighter path to a brighter future. My name is Brandon Stone. I'd really like your support. Thank you so much for being here.
All right, and the last candidate that we're going to welcome up, I would like to welcome Representative Mike Weissman. He's running for re-election in House District 36, and his race has gotten a little too close for comfort. He has an opponent who has just dropped about $100,000 of his own money into his campaign. So, we got to help Mike get over the finish line. While at the legislature, Representative Weissman has been active in working for more funding for affordable housing, pushed for education policies that make community college and four-year college more affordable, worked on consumer protection measures. He's passed 7 criminal justice reform bills in just 2 sessions, and pushed important legislation around elections and government transparency. Unfortunately, many of these bills were frequently killed in the Senate. So, we've got a lot of work cut out for ourselves. But let's give it up for Representative Mike Weissman.
Hello, everybody. Well, first things first, I wanted to say thank you to Senator Sanders for coming out for us tonight. My understanding is he's living here in just a few minutes. And second and not least, I wanted to say thank you to Emily and to Skip and to everybody else who's put many, many hours into pulling this event together for us here to make sure So I'm Mike Weissman. I represent House District 36 in Aurora. It's been an honor to be here tonight. We're here in part for the Progressive Values Committee and for progressive candidates like Yadira and Michelle and Kyle and Brianna. So I wanted to say a little bit about what I think it means to be a progressive and what progressivism is. If I had to boil it down to one word, I would say it's about opportunity. As progressives, we believe that opportunity is not simply an accident. Rather, it's the result of candidates that we elected, like those that you've heard from tonight, and the laws that those candidates turn around to fight for when they are in office. And at the same time, lack of opportunity is not an accident either. Lack of opportunity is not a natural occurrence. It's not a natural disaster like a fire or a flood or a blizzard that is unavoidable. No, it's the result of laws that no longer fit the needs that we have as a society, or laws that should never have come on the books in the first place, and laws that can and should be changed. To take on that challenge is what it means to be progressive. That was true 100 years ago, that's true now. It needs to be more true now than ever. So as progressives, we refuse to accept inequitable social conditions. We refuse to leave those as they are. Rather, we commit ourselves to the work of changing them. That's why we're here tonight. And you know, on a personal level, I'm here, and really probably most of us are here because of opportunity, because of the kind of opportunity that our country offered to our ancestors in the past, and that we continue to fight for today and in the future. In my case, 107 years ago or so, a Jewish immigrant boy stepped off a boat from Eastern Europe fleeing the pogroms and made this country his home. Now, when he got here, his family didn't have a lot of money, and he didn't even speak any English. They were a Yiddish-only family. But the boy learned English, and he went to school, and then he went to college, and then he went to medical school, and then he served in the Army Medical Corps in World War II, and he opened up a family practiced medicine for about 30 years, and saw patients who came from poor immigrant families like he had come from. And he raised 3 kids of his own, and they had the chance to go to college too. That immigrant boy was Meyer Weissman. He went by the name of Mike. He was my grandfather, and I was named after him. And, you know, that's the American story as it plays out in my family. It's played out in most of our families, and it needs to be able to continue to play out into the future, so the people who want to come here for the opportunity that we offer and build a life can do so. When I stand here tonight, or when I stand in the well of the house, I know that I'm standing on my grandfather's shoulders, and my other grandparents too. And growing up, they impressed upon me the need to fight for opportunity. To me, that's what politics is, that's what policy is. So for the last 2 years, I've been fighting for opportunity in housing and education and criminal justice. You don't have a place that is safe to sleep at night, that doesn't eat up your whole paycheck. It's hard to build a foundation on top of that. Education is and has always been necessary to opportunity. Now we need more, but it's hard to have opportunity without education that doesn't cost a whole mortgage payment and then some. And we need to continue to work on criminal justice, because if you take justice out of criminal justice, all you have what's left is criminal. And that's going on for too long in this country. So I'm ready to keep fighting these fights, and hopefully some other ones too, and I truly hope that I'll be joined by new state representatives that you just heard from earlier, Caraveo and Galindo and Malika and Tatone. We have an amazing team of new candidates here who are working really hard and going against some really ugly dark money attacks. So I guess just to wrap up, thank you everybody for coming tonight, for supporting the Progressive Values Committee, for supporting these candidates who are looking to join us in the House. We have 12 days left after today. Let's keep working, it matters. Little story, Monday I was out, I talked to an 18-year-old woman who hadn't yet had the chance to register. I told her how to do that, I told her how to vote. Talked to another woman whose ballot had literally accidentally gotten tossed out in the trash. It happens, and you don't have to worry about it because our election system lets you go into a replacement. So those conversations matter, Go to people at the door now until the last day to remind them of what their rights are. Vote matters. We're going to win. Let's go to vote.